I hope I'm audible and visible. Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me clearly? Yeah, so today we're going to talk about MAHCET's basic exam pattern. Okay, so of course, you must have been through a lot of articles about MAHCET so far, I'm assuming. In case not, we'll quickly run you through what are the basic things about MAHCET, when is it taking place, what are the sections, how about the number of questions, and the amount of time you have to solve the entire exam question paper. So, of course, mode of exam is going to be online. Duration is going to be 150 minutes. That is 2.5 hours is what you get. Number of questions is going to be 200, and so is the total marks, right? So 1 minute for one question, but not necessarily. Of course, when it comes to a grammar question, you can attempt it rather more quickly as compared to an RC question, right? So number of questions or number of marks is equal. That is equal to 200. Types of questions, of course, it's going to be all MCQ, no subjective, no essay writing is going to be there. And sections, if we talk about, so we do have logical reasoning, which tests you on how you are with the logic, how you are with the, rationally testing, basically testing how your mind works in certain situations. Like there can be questions on X stays on floor, Y, Y stays on floor second, Y likes to wear yellow on Tuesdays. So what did Y wear on a Monday when he went to meet a doctor? Such questions coming on logical reasoning. Abstract reasoning is again a part of reasoning itself. Then you have quantitative aptitude, all about your mathematic concepts, from your quadratics to your linear equations to your geometrical questions, mensuration questions. All those quants part is what you have, one section. And then VARC, that is verbal ability and reading comprehension, which includes your passages, your grammar, and your VA part, that is para jumbles and fact inference judgment questions. If we look at the marking scheme, so it's 1 mark for each and no negative marking. That is, we are not being penalized for any negative, for any wrong answers we give, right? So we're not being penalized for anything. So no negative marking. We can attempt all the questions. That is what I mean to say. We should just take care of the time. We should not invest in a lot on any one particular question, since there are 200 questions and 200 marks, right? And then, of course, we do have 2.5 hours. 150 minutes, of course, that's one thing we should take care of, that it's 150 minutes. So number of questions is 200, so it's not even 1 minute per question. Okay, taking you through the section wise breakdown for each. So you can see we have logical reasoning, abstract reasoning, quantitative aptitude, and VARC, as I just told you. The number of questions are bifurcated as such. We have 75 for LR, 25 questions in your abstract reasoning, 50 questions for your quants, and of course another 50 for your VARC. That's how the section breakup lies. And then we do have the question types. When it comes to question types, your LR includes your CR, puzzle sets, seating arrangement, syllogism, blood relations, all these question types. Abstract reasoning is all about non-verbal reasoning, inclusive of odd one out. Arithmetic, algebra, geometry, DI when it comes to quants. And when it is VARC, of course, you do have your reading comprehensions. Para completion, sentence completion is more like a fill in the blanks for your grammar, which is a very common question type, right? So this is what you have in your VARC. Estimated time per question could be 40 to 60 seconds each for logical reasoning and abstract reasoning. When it comes to VARC, of course, as per your passage, the question time would vary, and so would for your quantitative aptitude as well. Okay, coming on to the top MBA colleges to look at and what percentile can we expect. So before we get into this, let me just show you a chart of CET 2024-2021. Like, this is the entire score you have from 2024 to 2021. How can you keep the percentile analysis with respect to the scores you get in CET? Okay. So here, if you could see, in 2024, a person who scored 147 marks was able to score 99.9 percentile, right? Whereas in 2023, it used to be 146, 148 in 2022, 2021, 141, right? Similarly, if you'd scored somewhere close to 115, it would be 95 percentile. Right, 113, again 2022 and 2021, even 106 would fetch you a percentile of 95%. Okay. Average percentile, if I look at that, is 70 percentile. So 74 marks would lead you to 70 percentile as per 2024 exam, right? So this is the weightage we have as per your marks you score and what percentile would be mapped across for that particular score you score for that particular year. Okay, and these are the colleges you can expect when it comes to CET cutoffs. So if we talk about Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management, that's one of the most famous ones. The cutoff is somewhere close to 99.98 percentile. So these are the few colleges which are the top ones you can see. Though Xavier Institute also accepts the score of close to 99.62 itself. And then you have Indira College of Engineering and Management, Pune, Indira Global Business School of Pune, and Balaji Institute of Management and Human Resource Development. Again, depending on which source you want to go for, which field you're planning your management in, your master's in. So accordingly, you can choose a school. But before going to the B school, what is also important is the score you score and the percentile you can map across, right? So whatever your target is, you can see it through the scores, you'd be able to target. And currently, I do expect that since month of April is not really far, guys, we should start taking up mocks if we haven't yet, because I presume that you must have been preparing for other OMETs as well, other management entrance tests as well. So some bit of preparation we are already on with, right? And if we are still not on with, probably we can start now. I'll tell you the sources. I'll tell you good resources to pick when it comes to, preparation for specific sections, especially for VARC. And the rest, of course, depends on the amount of time we can dedicate to a practice and how much effort we can put in when it comes to solving the mocks and then analyzing them, right? So accordingly, we can also judge what scores are we getting, and accordingly, we can also try to anticipate our percentile we can map according to. So this is again the college placements you can look at, and accordingly, you can also see which colleges you can aim for when it comes to a certain percentile you can score, right? So if you score a cutoff percentile of 99.85, you can go to Jamnalal Bajaj, if we talk about that we just talked about, and the average placement was 27.6 LPA, median placement was 28.02 LPA, highest placement did touch 35.75. This was for last year itself. The batch size is also given on the right side, right? So these are the few handpicked ones, but if you want to have an entire analysis, probably I'll get the entire report for you as well to look at the placement and accordingly prepare. Coming on to the more important part, that is a syllabus, we have to touch upon, and which sections to focus more. So it's a full, online entrance exam. That's one thing. It's Maharashtra Common Entrance Test, which we all know. And as I told you, there's no negative marking. That is rather more important to look at. Okay, these are the 4 sections we have: visual reasoning, or basically reasoning altogether, where you have logical reasoning, verbal ability, quants, and of course the reasoning part itself. If we get into the nitty-gritties of VARC, what all topics we're going to cover on, we have reading comprehension, for which you need to read regularly. Right? When I say regularly, it should be from different sections, right? Again, what do I mean by different sections is, I'll just show you, an entire chart. I'll build an entire chart for you where you can see which all sources to follow, which all topics to cover when it comes to reading comprehension practice, right? So para completion is one part. Para completion could be a grammar portion where you're given a sentence or maybe entire cloze test, a paragraph with multiple blanks. Synonyms, antonyms is more about your vocabulary. Analogy is more about the relationship between X is to Y. Similar kind of relationship you need to figure out of the 4 options stated. Sentence completion is more again around, a fill in the blank question, or it could also be a para completion, like what is the last sentence of a particular paragraph. Statement arguments, this is more of a CR question type, which comes under reasoning. Probable starter could be a cloze test, could be a vocab question again. Fact inference judgment, very commonly asked when it comes to 5 sentences given to you. You are supposed to figure out which of the following sentence is a fact. Is it an inference? Is it an inference? It's a judgment. What exactly is it? Right? So you're supposed to figure out What type of sentence is it? Is it a fact? Is it an inference or a judgment? Para-jumbles, when you have 4 to 5 sentences jumbled for you and you're supposed to figure out a coherent, meaningful paragraph by arranging those 4-5 sentences for yourself, that is a para-jumble question, so that that coherent paragraph makes some sense eventually. Okay. Vocabulary, all about root words, so we can also cover them. Roots and some antonyms, synonyms, as we just discussed. So this is also something you can see in one of the sessions we'll be covering soon, maybe this week itself, where we'll be touching base on root words taken from Norman Lewis Word Power Made Easy, where we have entire 36 sessions. So we'll be covering those sessions one by one as well. So antonyms, synonyms, error correction, again a grammar part. You are supposed to figure out in the entire sentence, where does the error lie? Okay, and how would you correct it? Which of the following options do you find is the best way to correct that error given in the paragraph or a sentence? Fill in the blanks is again, where you're supposed to figure out which preposition to fill or which conjunction to fill. Is it into? Is it onto? Is it in? What should I use? Critical reasoning, more about arguments, assumptions, strengthening, weakening the statement. Close passage, all about blanks. And for that blank in that paragraph, there are 2 or 3 options given to you. You're supposed to pick the best option. Odd one out again lies in it's in the same family as para-jumble lies, where you're given 5 sentences and you're supposed to figure out which of the following sentences is not a part of that family. Okay. So in short, this is what VARC of MAH CET looks like. This is where you can expect your questions coming from. Now I'm going to take you through the sources which you should follow. Okay. When it comes to reading comprehension, guys, I want you to read from different genres. Okay. So by the time we are done with the prep, we will all be an eclectic reader. Okay. When it comes to eclectic reader, what it means is, if it's a passage coming from a classical literature, script, or if it is a passage coming from science, or is it a philosophy, which has been given to you, whether it's a psychology passage, whether it's a passage from finance, or is it a business passage hitting your, exam, whichever section it comes from, we should be able to comprehend. We should be able to understand the skeleton of the paragraph and should be able to solve the questions at the back. That is all what we are expecting from you. Okay. And for this, I want you to follow a certain pattern. What I mean by that pattern is, we can maintain a structure for ourselves where you can have, some table decided for you. Like on every Monday, I'm going to read this, on Tuesday, I'm going to read this, Wednesday, this, Thursday, this, Friday, this, Saturday, this. Okay. And this could be, you're reading maybe philosophy on Monday, right? Some science passage on Tuesday, right? Or it could be some good sources you can pick, right? You can do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like this, or howsoever you'd want to, right? Then maybe you can pick something on fiction, some literature on Wednesday, something like this. Right. And what sources to follow? The sources I can recommend to you are, maybe you can start with the editorials first. You can start with The Hindu, or if you want, you can also pick the Times of India. Okay. For business, you can pick the Mint or the Economic Times, the Financial Express. Okay, these are good sources, Indian sources, which you can pick. If you want to rely on something more than this, if you're done with this and you want to reach out to something more, you can pick the Guardian, the Tribune. Okay, you can pick some apps to read some finance news. That is one of the most famous apps you might be knowing, FinShots. It's a finance, financial news is what it throws. And every read is going to be more than 2 minutes, like 3 to 5 minutes read. Not very long passages, not very long articles in it. So you can go for FinShots. Apart from this, you can also pick Scientific America, or Wall Street Journal, right? You can pick New York Times. Okay. And of course, one of the good sources, guys, which I always tell my students is the Japanese source called Aeon. Okay. It's a good source to pick, guys. It's really, really good when it comes to, mixing the two genres, that is science and philosophy. Sometimes you'll also find some passages coming from sociology, and sociology, not just human sociology. It could be the birds, how the birds or the bees, they talk amongst themselves, how do they have a culture. So all of it you can expect in Aeon passages. That would be an interesting thing to go through. A lot of Aeon essays you can find, and it's a free source. You're not charged for it. You don't have to take any subscription. So Aeon is a good source. You can also go for Ken, but it's a subscribed one, guys. It's all about business. Okay. They're very good writers like Nutgraph, if you'd like to read. So, very good source to read from. It updates you about everything in and out of what's happening around the world, Indian, startups, and how are the MNCs getting impacted, how the employees' health is getting impacted. Like any genre, anything you can think of related to business, you'll find good articles, like very worthy articles when it comes to Ken. Right. But this is all about to add different genres to your reading. But when it comes to RC specific to MAHCT, I just want you guys to be capable enough to be able to comprehend what is there in the passage. Right. And as I have always told my students, it's not about the exam I'm writing. It's not about just my objective of reading. It's about the journey I'm following throughout that, that entire preparation time. That is what makes me, a better person when it comes to a good reader. So better reader, a better eclectic reader by the time we are done with the preparation. So that is what I am also looking from you guys. So as I stated to you in this, table, what we can do is maybe we can read something on, let me just clean it up for us. So maybe you can plan it out like this if you want. So I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. Okay. So maybe on every Monday and Tuesday, so maybe we have Aeon, we have, say, Times of India, we have the Mint, we have Scientific America, and say we have FinShots. Okay. So I'm reading Aeon on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and maybe Saturday too. Okay. Then Times of India, I'm reading on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Mint, I'm reading on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, because it's all about business and I don't understand business much, for example. If it is Scientific America, maybe I'm reading it on every alternate day. Right? If it is FinShots, it's just 5 minutes read. I can read it at least 5 days a week. Right? So that's how you can plan your reading structure. This will really, really help you to understand, the passages coming from different genres, and it will become easy for you to not just, comprehend the passages, but also when it comes to any sort of passages, your mind would have schemas to build, because you would have read so much. You still have a couple of months to go for the exam, so good time to actually prepare and keep abreast with the reading and the different articles which you hit. Okay. The rest, of course, when it comes to para-jumbles, vocabulary or grammar, sentence completion, everything falls in place if you're good with reading. So reading is a prime important thing we should look at. Okay. Coming back to again MAHCT prep. I'll be just taking you through the other sections as well. Like once you do have questions coming from algebra, ratio proportion, simple interest, compound interest, mixture and alligation, number system, mensuration, Time and work, probability, PNC. PNC might not be there. Yeah, it is there. Data sufficiency, pie charts, bit of a DI might also be covered. Then some caselets would be there, percentages, profit and loss, quantitative equations, quadratic equations, linear and quadratic both. Then trigonometry, coordinate geometry, some DI questions, some charts and ratio based questions might be there. And when it comes to LR, you do have 75 questions based on different sort of puzzles, conditional coding, some charts again, right? Some strengthening and weakening arguments. So this might be a part of CR again, which you might be completing with me. Clocks and calendars, blood relations, symbol-based comparison, logs, or maybe linear and circular arrangement. Okay. When we look at the weightage of VARC, guys, reading comprehension, passages, and fact inference judgment questions might take 10 to 15 questions. And the level of questions might be easy to difficult. So we'll be looking at both sorts of questions. Antonyms, synonyms, specifically when it comes to vocab, we do have close to 4 to 5 questions, and the level of question is also moderate to difficult, not very easy questions. So that means when it comes to root words, we'll have to focus a little more. Para jumbles and para completions, the number of questions are going to be 7 to 12, and the level of question is again going to be easy to difficult to look at. Okay. Similarly, when it comes to grammar error and choosing the grammatically correct sentence, we have 10 number of questions, moderate to difficult. What we have in grammar is tenses. Then you have pronounces, as in pronouns and verbs, conditions, that is conditionals, nouns, use of prepositions, and we do have some part of odd one out, again 3 to 5 questions, moderate to difficult. Okay, now it comes to books to refer, basically which books we can refer for verbal and non-verbal reasoning, and especially when it comes to preparation for CET, other common entrance tests, or even CAT preparation books would also help. So these are handful of books. This is not the the only list you should follow. This is just for you to start. Maybe you can have a look at these books online if the PDFs are available. If they're not available, maybe you can purchase them offline. But again, this is not a comprehensive list. This is just a few books which have been picked handy for you. But this is not a master list for you, right? So you can add and subtract the books as per your requisite. Okay, then let's have a look at the preparation pattern for MAH CET. That is what you can expect when it comes to VARC. How do we go about the preparation, right? So, of course, reading daily is something we've already talked about, right? Also, when you read, I would want, guys, that you do not just read, but you also write down something after reading. Okay, it is very important that we do not just read anything which is given to us, but we are also able to practice its process. What I mean by that is, whenever you read any article, if it is any article given to you, you always read it within a stipulated period of time. Say I'm trying to finish it in within 5 minutes. If it is just one paragraph, I'll take maybe more than 2 minutes, 3 minutes max, right? If it is maybe 2 paragraphs, I might take 10 minutes, right? Maybe 5 minutes, depending on the length of the paragraphs. And then before we go to the next passage, or say that we're done with the reading, I would want you to please summarize it somewhere, right? Summarize on the basis of what is the gist of the paragraph, right? What is the tonality being used? Okay. And if I have to give it a title, so what title can I give to this particular paragraph or the article I've read? What is a skeleton I can count on? What is a central idea I can figure out of this? So that is something I want you to do before you move to another article, after finishing one. So reading daily is important. By reading daily, I mean at least reading 30 minutes a day. Right? That is something I want you to do. And time it a bit. If you're reading a book, try to complete at least 50 pages a day. Okay. Of course, level of the books you're picking up or the articles you pick also vary, and accordingly your time would also vary. But to start with basic 30 minutes a day and maybe 50 pages a day, if you want to start with some good books, maybe you can start with George Orwell, Okay, and maybe you can pick up Animal Farm. That's one of the most recommended books. You can also pick 1984 post that, right? And then maybe I'll recommend you more when you start reading. So these books are very thin. They can be covered within a week very easily. So reading daily, sticking to the habit of reading daily, not just the newspapers, but also the articles you read, also the books you're following, the apps you're following. It's very important. Okay. Then note down difficult words. Of course, building on vocabulary is equally important. Okay, we've already seen that there are some 5 to 7 questions which are being asked on MAHCET for your antonym synonym. So when you have questions based on your vocabulary, why not already have that process in place of remembering at least 5 to 7 root words every day. Every day, new 5 to 7 root words we're adding to that booklet. Where which is like the entire dictionary we have built for ourselves within a span of 2 to 3 months during this journey of a preparation, right? So whatever tough words you encounter while you read, you can jot them down in your notebook and make a tree of that root word. What I mean by that root word is, for example, if you are reading any article and you come across a word like, for example, if I say empathetic. Okay, now it's a very simple word though, right? But I know that it has a very important word root, that is pathos. So I'll just show you how this one word can help you to learn different 5 to 6 words at least. Okay, so pathos refers to feelings. How do we get to know? When you add M plus pathos, you get a word. When you add sim plus pathos, you get a word. When you add a to it, there's another word we get, right? When we add anti to it, right, there's another word we get. And there could be more. Okay, so what is the word we get here? Empathy. Okay, here we get is sympathy. The word we get here is apathy. Okay, and here it is antipathy. So what do you see? How are these words different? I know pathos is feelings. Okay, pathos refers to feelings. But when I add M to it and when I add sim to it, what is the difference? Sim or sin means together. Synchronous. Okay, this means together. And M also refers to close. But what is the difference between sympathy and empathy? How are these words relatable? How do you relate them? When we talk about empathy and when we talk about sympathy, right? Sympathy refers to any sort of feeling you would have for someone when you know that the person is sad. You would also feel sad for the person for a while, but that feeling would eventually go, right? For example, if you know that your colleague is not keeping well for some reason, okay, so for some time when you'd feel about that person, you'd feel sad that that person is not keeping well and you'll have good wishes for the person, but that is it, right? When you come home, you get used to your life and you forget about that colleague at times. At the same time, if my dog is not well, which is staying with me every day in and out, that person is around me or that dog is around me, you know or maybe some of your family member is not well, what happens? You cannot live without that person. You cannot see that pain in that person. You want that person to be as good and as early as possible as he or she was before, or that that animal was before. You feel that pain exactly as the person feels, right? You don't feel happy until and unless that person feels happy in his or her life, or that person is out of that pain, right? For example, your dog is not keeping well, so unless and until the doctor says that he is now, the dog is now, it is now well enough to run around or he can eat anything now, you'd not feel that comfortable. Whereas had it been any street dog, you might have been disturbed for a while, but then you get back to your life, right? Same is not the case when it comes to empathy. Empathy, or a person who is very close to you. So you get into the shoes of that person. Okay, which is not the case in case of sympathy. So empathy is when you actually get into the shoes of the person, you empathize with the person. Sympathy is that feeling you have for a while, but then it vanishes off after a small period of time. Right? So both of them, empathy, sympathy, are very close but little different. Apathy means very neutral. A is neutral, right? So I'm very neutral towards the feelings, right? Neutral मतलब कुछ भी हो जाए मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, because I don't relate to that person at all. Antipathy means opposite. That if that person is happy, I'll be sad. If that person is sad, I'm happy. So you kind of feel that Schadenfreude, that kind of a feeling. Schadenfreude is when you know that the other person is very in a very pathetic situation, you'll be, कि चलो अच्छा इसके साथ ऐसा हुआ. This person actually deserves this. So that is an antipathetic feeling you have for the person. Okay. So here we could see that how this one word root could give us so many words: empathy, sympathy, antipathy, apathy, pathetic, pathos. All these feelings, all these words, they come out of that one word root, pathos. So this is what, noting down difficult words does to us. We can build the entire vocabulary around those root words. That is what I'm emphasizing, guys. Please make sure that you maintain a separate notebook for it. You write down all the root words and also build this chart around it so that you can remember. Okay. Try to create sentences around these words which you learn through those root words. Okay. So such words encountered while reading should be noted down and tried to be used in one's own sentences. So building sentences would also help. Sticking to one book, of course, is a good recommendation, but not always. You can see whichever topic you want to learn from different books, you can stick to that. But writing mock tests is very, very important, guys. Mock tests are more like, it's like a mirror image of your preparation. So make sure that once you feel that you are thorough with most of the principles, most of the concepts, you start taking up mocks, and not just take mocks once a week, but also analyze it. Right? 1, you take a mock on a day. 2, you write it again without timing yourself. And 3, you analyze it with the correct answers. You see where you went wrong. You see where you went wrong because of the time management issue, or was it the fundamental concept which was not clear yet, right? So we go thoroughly from every aspect, try to see, is it the time management, is it the question type, is it the concept, where do we lag? And then you revisit the question and the concept again. Okay. And of course, solving the previous year's papers is very important. Unless and until we devote our time in understanding how the entire paper is presented, it is worthless to prepare. So very important to follow the previous year's papers, the previous year questions, solve them on and off whenever you get time. Maybe you can treat these previous year's papers as mocks for you, take them and see where your score lies. If you get a poor score, nothing to worry on. Of course, we can revisit the concepts. We can try to practice more number of questions around those concepts and then solve some more mocks and pep up our preparation, journey. So that's one of the things I would recommend, that when it comes to previous year's papers, solve them like mocks, but make sure that you are thorough with your preparation. You are very consistent with your preparation. If it is 5 RCs I'm trying to practice a day, I am sticking to maybe 6, 7 a day, but nothing less than 5. Okay. So very important to read regularly, noting down your difficult words or the concepts you want to, taking up mocks, and also practicing the previous year's solved papers. Okay. Now, just to take you through one of the passages which appeared in previous MAH CET exams, I want you to go through this one particular paragraph. If we are able to solve it well, I will make sure that in the next few sessions we will be picking up questions from the other RCs, like the difficult ones. Okay. If we are not able to solve these questions today well, then maybe we'll be sticking to this particular level for a few sessions and we'll be building on from here itself. Okay. So I'm giving you 2 minutes. Quickly go through the paragraph, make some notes, understand the summary, write it down somewhere, try to figure out the tone of the author, write it down somewhere, and also try to find the title of the passage. Is pure picture ka naam kya rakhna hai? That's up to you. Okay. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Quickly write it down. Let me know. And then I will be, sharing the questions with you. Guys, please let me know if you're done reading. Shall we discuss the passage together? Okay, let me show you the questions first. I'll also give you 1 quick minute. If you want to refer the passage, let me know. It's a simple question. You need to figure out the main point of the author. That is the central idea of the passage. Sweet, simple summary. That's what I'm expecting. 1 minute for this, and then the next 2 questions, and then I'll explain the passage to you. It is just for you to have an understanding of what sort of questions you can expect in MAHCET. If you're done with this, I'm taking you to the next one. Please have a look at the next question. This is about author's tone. That's a very simple question again. All right, moving ahead to the last question for this particular passage. Okay, let's go through the paragraph together, guys. Very simple passage, very interesting one. I hope you understood it well. Let's have a look at it together. It says when the same parameters and quantitative theory are used to analyze both termite colonies and troops of Rheus Marcus. Okay, same parameters means same factors, and quantitative theory means why something happens. Basically, the hypothesis which is being used. Hypothesis मतलब क्यों हुआ होगा ऐसा, कैसे हुआ होगा, वो theory जो हम figure out कर रहे हैं. So both the same things, like params and the quantitative theory, both are same, are used to analyze both termite colonies and troops of use. Marcus, we will have a unified science of sociobiology, right? One thing is we're talking about the culture, and on the other side, we're also looking at the biological factors, right? So sociobiology, can this ever really happen? As my own studies have advanced, I have been increasingly impressed with the functional similarities between insect and vertebrate societies, and less so with the structural differences that seem at first glance to constitute such an immense gulf between them. Okay, so when the same parameters and quantitative theory are used to analyze both termite colonies and troops of macaques, so one species or one type of termites we're talking about, and then second side we're talking about is Rhesus Pecus. We will have a unified science of sociobiology. On both the sides, we find a similarity. That's why we have a unified science of sociobiology. Can this ever really happen? Is it even possible that the sociobiological figures or the factors are same? As my own studies have advanced, I have been increasingly impressed with the functional similarities between insect and vertebrate societies. There's a lot of similarity between the insect and vertebrate societies, and less so with the structural differences that seem at first glance to constitute such an immense gulf between them. Consider for a moment termites and Bacchus both form cooperative groups that occupy territories, right? When we talk about the territories they occupy, they have similar kind of groups. They have cooperative groups that occupy territories. In both kinds of society, there is a well-marked division of labor. Members of both groups communicate to each other hunger, alarm, hostility means any kind of enmity, caste status, or rank and reproduce status, right? So they're communicating amongst the group very well. From the specialist's point of view, this comparison may at first seem facile. It's not of use, or worse, but it is out of such deliberate oversimplification that the beginnings of a general theory are made. Okay, so it says from the specialist point of view, if you look at this comparison, may at least at first seem very, not so good to look at, but it is out of such deliberate oversimplification that the beginnings of a general theory are made. That we try to generalize of such theories, oversimplification, that because it's so simple, that we can actually generalize that how sociobiology is being carried forward, or it's something which is being justified by the troops and the colonies of Rheus Max and termites. Okay, so it's one way of showcasing how the sociology and the biology is coming into one picture together for the termite colonies and troops of Rhesus Macaques. Okay, so what is a summary here? It's all about sociobiology of the two sections of insects, or basically termites, and the Rheus Max we're talking about. And if we look at the tone, can it be analytical or should it be descriptive? This is something I'm going to ask you once we're done with the questions. Okay, So let's have a look at the first question. Which of the following best summarizes the author's main point? Can you guys help me with your answers now? What is the right answer for it and why? Quick 10 seconds. Answer your questions, guys, here, because I want you to first try it on your own. I know we've looked at the question already, but why do you think is it A? Why do you think is it E? Do we have a proper justification for it? We need to first just summarize. It's a simple summary question for the author's main point here. Oversimplified comparison of animal societies could diminish the likelihood of developing a unified science of sociobiology. It's not talking about diminishing it. Rather, it's similar in both the cases. Understanding the ways in which animals as different as termites and Rheus macaques resemble each other requires train in both biology and sociology. Most animals organize themselves into societies that exhibit patterns of groups behavior similar to that of the social human societies, or animals as different as termites and Rheus macaques follow certain similar and predictable patterns of behavior, or is it a study of the similarities between the insect and vertebrate societies that could provide the basis for a unified science of sociobiology? That's what is happening here, isn't it? We find a similarity between the insect and the vertebrate societies, right? So it starts with termites here, right? And then Rhesus macaques. Okay, so naturally this shows that we are referring to a comparison here. Of course, that comparison is there, but what eventually does that comparison do? Rhesus macaques is basically referring to the monkeys, right? So what is that similarity? That is on the basis of the kind of troops they have, right? Troops of monkeys hote hai. So it's a unified science of sociobiology, as in like the similarity they have in terms of the culture they have, given to the descendants, right? The lineage which is following is same in both the classes, whether it's a vertebrate, whether it's a monkey we're talking about, or is it a termite we're referring to, right? So both sections of society are having similar sort of behavior. Excuse me, guys. So I hope this question was clear. Best summarizes the main point. So study of similarities between insect and vertebrate societies could provide the basis for a unified science of sociobiology. Why do we have this? So answer E is a correct choice when it comes to question number 1. Let's have a look at the question number 2. Author's attitude towards the possibility of a unified theory in sociobiology is best described as which of the following? Tell me, guys, quickly, which option do you find is the correct answer? Is it guarded optimism, unqualified enthusiasm, objective indifference, or resignation or dissatisfaction? What is it? Yeah, so author's attitude towards the possibility of a unified theory in sociobiology is best described as guarded optimism. It cannot be guarded optimism, or it can be. We are talking about optimism here. Absolutely, yes. But guarded. Guarded means being a little, not skeptical, but wary of what is happening around. Unqualified enthusiasm. Unqualified is a negative term, so I would eliminate this option. Objective indifference. No. Resignation again is a negative term. Dissatisfaction is also negative. So I am left with only one option. That is, both the words are positive. That is guarded optimism. Guarded, of course, shows a bit of, being skeptical about being, correct or not. But the answer has to be A. Okay, because when we eliminate the options, we're left with no other option but A. In discussing insect and vertebrate societies, the author suggests which of the following? A distinguishing characteristic of most insect and vertebrate societies is a well-marked division of labor. Caste structure of insect societies is similar to that of the vertebrate societies. Most insect and vertebrate societies form cooperative groups in order to occupy territory. The means of communication among members of insect societies is similar to that among members of vertebrate societies, or there is a significant structural difference between insect and vertebrate societies? Are we talking about any differences here? That's one question I have. If you do not have any differences, right? So it says, in discussing insect and vertebrate societies, author suggests which of the following? Distinguishing characteristics of most. It's not distinguishing characteristics. It's the same characteristic that both of them have troops. Okay, they are similar when it comes to sociobiology. Caste structure of insects is similar to that of vertebrate societies. Is it the caste structure only? No. Most insect and vertebrate societies form cooperative groups in order to occupy a territory. What can be said about occupying territory here? They have, in order to occupy territory, they form cooperative groups. They do, but that is not why he's referring to the insect and vertebrate societies. Means of communication among members of insect societies is similar to that of the among members of vertebrate societies. Significant structural differences between insect and vertebrate societies. So that is what the author is actually trying to say, that there's a huge difference, significant difference when it comes to insect and vertebrate societies. Okay, so guys, we will have such passages more to be discussed in the coming sessions as well. What I would want you to do is, please keep reading from different genres. So whenever you come across such passages or questions, your mind doesn't get boggled altogether, to not be able to figure out what it says. Like this paragraph, I'll just run you through again. This is just another passage I've kept no questions to it for now, but you can just have a look at it. For example, it says maps made by non-Native Americans do depict Native American land tenure. Okay. So maps which are constructed by non-Native Americans who are not there, they do depict that Native Americans land tenure, as in kitne time tak Native Americans ki wo land hai. Resources and population distributions appeared almost as early as Europeans' first encounters with Native Americans and took many forms like missionaries, field sketches, explorers' drawings, and surveyors' maps, as well as maps rendered in connection with treaties involving land transfers. Most existing maps of Native Americans are reconstructions that are based largely on archaeology, oral reports, evidence gathered from observers' accounts and letter, diaries, and official reports. Accordingly, accuracy of these maps is especially dependent on the map maker's own interpretive abilities. So if you look at this paragraph, you do have some understanding about maps. It talks about non-Native Americans and Native Americans mapping, right? So what are we supposed to do? When we read such passages, we are supposed to comprehend what the passage is about, what is the tone of the author here, and how can I comprehensively summarize it. Okay, these are the basic factors which we looked at today. When we move ahead with the further sessions, we'll also be discussing some grammar concepts, some verbal ability part, some part of critical reasoning as well. But for now, to start, I would suggest please do not miss on that entire chart of reading, for the different genres which are recommended to you. And we'll be catching up very soon. I hope this session would be beneficial for you. You have entire list of colleges you can follow, how much score, how to map it with the percentile, everything has been covered today for you. Okay, so please start reading, please start practicing some quants for yourself, get into the logical reasoning part, and of course stay with us for the further sessions so that we can help you brush up your skills when it comes to your quantitative, your LR, and your VARC. All right, guys, thank you so very much. I would love to see you very soon again for the next sessions, guys. Thank you so much.